The wedding that wasn't. If someone told me 5 years ago that the woman I was planning to marry, the woman I would have died for, would one day leave me shattered, humiliated, and publicly annihilated in front of hundreds of people, I would have laughed in their face. Because her name was Claire. And Claire was perfect. That's what everyone said. Claire, with her soft voice and almond eyes that looked like they could see through your soul but would never judge it. Claire, with her handwritten notes in the lunchbox she packed me every morning. Claire, who adopted my old beagle, Simon, like he'd always been hers. Claire, who made me believe, truly believe, that love was safe. God, I was such a fool. We met in grad school. She was in her second year of clinical psychology. I was finishing my MBA. We locked eyes during a campus mixer, and it was cliché from the beginning. Drinks. Laughter. That kind of instant chemistry people write poems about. She wasn't just beautiful. She was intoxicating. The kind of woman who made you forget you'd ever been hurt. The kind who wrapped herself around your trauma like ivy and whispered, "I'll love all the parts they couldn't." Our relationship moved fast. Too fast, if I'm being honest in hindsight. Within 3 months, she had a drawer at my place. By 6, we'd moved in together. At the 1-year mark, I proposed. I remember that night like it was yesterday. It was pouring rain. I'd planned a fancy dinner, but the weather ruined everything. So instead, we ended up at this shitty little burger shack we used to go to after late classes. I was panicking, soaking wet, ring box in my sock because I didn't want her to see the bulge in my jacket pocket. And she just looked at me, dripping, shaking, and said, "Claire, you look like you just murdered someone." Me, only my self-esteem. She laughed, threw a fry at me, kissed me across the ketchup-covered table. And when I pulled out the ring and dropped to one knee, she burst into tears and whispered, "Claire, you're the only home I've ever had." I believed her. God, did I believe her. I was the happiest I'd ever been. We spent the next year planning the wedding. Claire wanted something intimate, beautiful, not showy, but elegant. Garden ceremony. Candlelight reception. No kids. No alcohol, she said it muddied emotions. I agreed. I trusted her taste, her judgment, her vision. But that's when the cracks started to show. At first, it was small things. Like her accidentally forgetting to invite certain friends of mine she'd never really vibed with. Or the weird way she always seemed to know my phone passcode, even though I never told her. She'd gaslight me sometimes. Nothing major, or at least, that's what I told myself then. Me, "Hey, did you cancel my lunch with Greg? He said the invite got rescinded." Claire, "Why would I do that?" Me, "You showed me the email." Claire, smiling sweetly, "Maybe you sent it wrong. You've been really forgetful lately. Are you okay, babe?" I always ended up being the one to apologize. And every time we fought, even when I knew she was wrong, she'd find a way to turn it around on me. "Claire, I just feel like you don't see me. Like I'm invisible until you need someone to validate you." That line got me every time. I'd stay up late writing long apologies, buying her flowers, trying to be better. I didn't realize she was building a narrative, one where she was the victim and I was the unstable partner. The scary part? She had receipts. Or at least, it looked like she did. I found out months later that she had doctored screenshots of our conversations, edited voicemails, even manipulated old texts to make me look jealous, controlling, emotionally unstable. I didn't know it then, but she'd been laying the groundwork for my destruction since month 6 of our relationship. 6 months. That's all it took for her to decide how the story would end. The wedding day came. A beautiful spring Saturday in May. Everyone was there. My family, her family, friends from college, her therapist colleagues, my coworkers. We were married in an outdoor garden surrounded by white roses, fairy lights, and instrumental covers of Bon Iver songs. She looked angelic. White lace, no veil, hair down in soft waves. That same warm, disarming smile she always wore when she was lying. We said our vows. She cried on cue. I held her hands like they were sacred. And then, "Claire, before we go inside, I have something I need to say." She turned to the guests. The music cut. My stomach dropped. I thought maybe she was going to dedicate the ceremony to someone, or thank her late grandmother. Something sentimental. But then she pulled out her phone. "Claire, there's a truth I've been hiding. And it's time it came out." Silence. Total. Chilling. Silence. "Claire, the man standing beside me is not who you think he is. He's a manipulator. He's emotionally abusive. He's gaslit me for years. And I can't, in good conscience, become his wife. People laughed at first. Nervous chuckles. She didn't blink. She opened her photo gallery, held the phone up. Claire, these are just a few of the messages he sent me. The threats, the emotional manipulation, the guilt-tripping, gasps, murmurs. She showed them doctored screenshots, audio clips, a fake journal. Every word, a lie. A beautifully constructed, detailed, emotionally resonant lie. She threw the bouquet at my feet and walked away. Left me at the altar in front of 200 people. Left me humiliated, destroyed, speechless. My mother cried. My father looked like he wanted to punch a hole through the marble arch. My groomsmen didn't know what to do. Half of them just walked away. I was frozen. I tried to speak, tried to explain. No one listened. Because she had evidence. Fake, but convincing. And I had nothing but a stunned expression and a shattered heart. That was the day I died. Not physically, but the man who trusted, who believed, who loved. He died in that garden, under the fairy lights and white roses. They say when something traumatic happens, your brain goes into self-protection mode. Everything slows down, or speeds up, or blacks out completely. Mine did all three. I don't remember how I got from the altar to the dressing room. 1 second I was standing there, humiliated in front of 200 people, and the next I was sitting on a bench with Simon curled up at my feet and my best man, Jared, pacing behind me, muttering curses under his breath. Jared, bro, what the actual F***K just happened out there? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because I didn't know. Or maybe I did. Maybe some part of me had always known. The control. The paranoia. The emotional games. The way Claire always managed to rewrite history until I was the one apologizing for things I never did. But this was nuclear. This was premeditated psychological assassination. The door opened and her sister walked in, Melissa. Pale. Shaking. Melissa, I had no idea she was going to do that. Me. Do what? Lie. She didn't answer. Just looked at me like I was a dying animal she didn't have the heart to shoot. Melissa, she's been saying things for months. That you were unstable. That you'd threatened to leave her if she didn't quit her job. That you monitored her phone. Me. What? I never. Melissa, I know. I told her it didn't sound like you. But she always had proof. There it was again. Proof. Fake texts. Voicemails edited with AI. Screen recordings stitched together to look real. I'd been framed, slowly, methodically, over the course of a year. The guests were ushered away. The reception was canceled. My parents left in silence. Claire vanished. She didn't go home. Didn't contact me. Didn't even pick up her things. Just disappeared. And when I tried to defend myself online, to explain, I was called every name in the book. Comments under a viral tweet she posted. This is terrifying. I hope she has protection. You can see the narcissism in his eyes. Of course, he's trying to make himself the victim now. Classic abuser move. Her post got 1 million views in 2 days. Hashtag surviving Daniel trended for a full 24 hours. And I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Couldn't breathe. I lost my job within a week. HR said that optics were bad. Clients pulled out. I got death threats. Someone doxed my address. My building got graffitied with the words monster and she warned US. I didn't leave my apartment for 6 days. Didn't shower. Didn't change clothes. Simon pissed on the rug and I didn't even move. I was drowning. And no one was coming to save me. Then came the knock. It was midnight. I didn't answer at first, but the knocking didn't stop. I cracked the door open, half expecting to get punched in the face. Instead, I saw Emma, my ex-girlfriend from college. We hadn't spoken in years. She looked scared and furious. Emma, she did it to me too. I blinked. Me, what are you talking about? Emma, Claire. That's not her real name. She changed it 3 years ago. She was seeing my friend Mark when I lived in Seattle. Same story. Sweet. Funny. Perfect. Then boom, twisted everything. Made him look like a psycho. Ruined him. I opened the door wider. Let her in. She showed me a folder. Emails. Screenshots. Voice notes. Same tactics. Same manipulations. Same digital forgery patterns. Emma, she bounces between cities. Changes her look just enough. But always the same script. She builds you up like you're her entire world. Then she burns you to the ground and plays the survivor. I sat down, trembling. It wasn't just me. I wasn't crazy. She really was a predator. And she was good at it. Me, Why are you telling me this now? Emma, because I saw the video. I saw the look on your face. I know that look. I wore it. Mark wore it. And I couldn't let her do it again. We spent the next 8 hours comparing notes. Emma gave me names, dates, cities, evidence. A lawyer friend of hers, Clara, agreed to help. Pro bono. We started building a case. Not just defamation. Pattern of malicious coercion, cyber fraud, identity manipulation, and psychological abuse. But proving it wouldn't be easy. Because Claire, or whatever her real name was, had done this before. And every time, she erased her tracks. It was like chasing a ghost. But I was done being passive. Done hiding. I wanted the world to see what she really was. The first thing Clara, the lawyer, told me was simple. Clara, this isn't going to be a quick fix. She's smart, but she made a mistake. They always do. We began by compiling a full digital trail. Emma connected us with Mark, the ex-boyfriend Claire ruined before me. He was still living off the grid, completely shattered. But when I reached out to him, his voice shook. Mark, on the phone, I thought I was the only one. Jesus. I thought I was losing my mind. He sent us everything. Photos, screenshots, dates, even a secretly recorded audio file of one of their last conversations. In it, she gaslit him so expertly it made my stomach turn. Claire, audio, you know what your problem is? You think everyone owes you the truth. But you can't even look in the mirror without hating what you see. Mark, audio, voice cracking, I never said that. Why would you? Claire, you're making me feel unsafe. Again. And if I disappear, I want the police to know who to look at first. Cold. Calculated. Practiced. I forwarded that file to Clara. She cross-referenced voice print analysis. 97% match with the woman in my wedding video. Not admissible in court on its own, but enough to start building a profile. Emma found a Reddit post. Throwaway account. 5 years old. Titled, My girlfriend destroyed my life and made it look like I was the abuser. The writing style? Identical to my experience, but posted in a different city. Same phrases. Same tactics. We traced the IP with help from a gray hat hacker Emma used to date. Guess where it pointed? A small apartment in Portland, registered under the name Elena Radcliffe. Claire's old identity. The pieces were falling together, but I was still losing. My name was Mud. My parents barely spoke to me, not because they didn't believe me, but because they didn't know what to believe. Dad, on the phone, son. We raised you better than this. If even a fraction of what she said is true. Me, it's not. Dad, then fight. And prove it. I wanted to. God, I wanted to scream my innocence from every rooftop. But all I could do was keep building the case and pray it held together. Claire, meanwhile, was living her best life online. New city. New name. Now going by Ari. Posting selfies. Sharing articles on trauma healing. Running a support group on Zoom called Reclaiming Peace for survivors of narcissistic abuse. It would have been hilarious if it weren't so grotesque. She was giving advice to real victims, pretending to be one of them. Clara submitted a preliminary report to a private investigator she trusted. He began tracking Ari, confirmed her identity through voice, gait analysis, old social profiles. 100% match. We had her, but we needed more. So I did something risky. I messaged her. I used a burner account, a name she wouldn't recognize. Told her I'd heard about her group through a friend. Said I was dealing with a narcissistic ex who made me feel crazy and I just needed someone to talk to. She responded in under an hour. Claire, text, I'm so sorry you went through that. Would love to chat. Trauma can make us feel alone, but you're not. I'm here. Unreal. She scheduled a Zoom call with me. I recorded everything. She didn't recognize me. New haircut. Altered voice filter. Different backdrop. She went on and on about how she had survived a deeply abusive relationship with a controlling man who isolated her from friends, threatened her safety, and tried to trap her in marriage. Claire, Zoom. He almost broke me, but I got out. And now I help others do the same. Me, disguised, do you ever worry he'll come back? Try to ruin your life again. Claire, soft smile, he can't. I built the narrative. They always believe the first one to speak. Chills. Straight down my spine. She said it so proudly, like it was a victory. I clipped that recording, sent it to Clara. She nearly dropped her coffee. Clara, she just admitted to manipulating public perception. That's gold, especially in combination with the rest. We prepared to go public, but we had to be strategic. Claire had weaponized emotion. We had to respond with evidence. And we needed a platform big enough to make it impossible for her to erase it. That's when Jared came in again. Jared, my cousin, works at a media outlet. Not mainstream, but huge YouTube presence. Explosive exposés. They'll eat this alive if it's airtight. We compiled everything into a dossier. The fake screenshots. The AI-altered voicemails. The victims from other cities. The recorded Zoom call. I wrote my testimony. Raw. Unfiltered. Honest. And we gave it to them. The video dropped on a Tuesday. 1.3 million views in 48 hours. And for the first time, the tide turned. Comments. Wait, this guy has evidence. She said she was in Portland as Elena Radcliffe. That's what she used to sign into my building. I was in her Reclaiming Peace group. She manipulated one of the girls so bad she had to be hospitalized. I can't believe I followed her. She's evil. Claire tried to respond. Posted a teary-eyed Instagram reel. Said she was being attacked by trolls. Claimed her ex was weaponizing fake news against her. But it didn't land this time. Too many receipts. Too many victims. Too much truth. By the end of the week, Claire's entire empire was collapsing. Her YouTube channel got flagged and demonetized. Her Instagram lost thousands of followers overnight. People dug deeper into her Reddit history, her coaching business, her healing seminars. All full of red flags we'd missed before. She posted less and less. The comments turned ugly. Commenter on her last post. You ruined men's lives and wore their trauma like a crown. We see you now. Another. I was in your survivor group. You told me my boyfriend was a narcissist and to cut him off. I did. I haven't spoken to him in 8 months. I think about him every day. I didn't feel victorious. I felt sick. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about unmasking something deeper, a predator who fed off empathy, who weaponized compassion, who used social justice language like a smokescreen for cruelty. And somehow, it had almost worked. But not anymore. Clara helped file formal charges. Defamation, digital fraud, harassment, identity manipulation. She wouldn't go to prison, not yet, but we'd buried her with legal pressure. Even the wedding venue came forward. The manager called me personally. Venue manager, on phone, she paid us extra to let her set up the projector. Said it was a surprise for you. Romantic. Something about a video montage. Me. You didn't check the file? Manager. It was encrypted. We didn't think. I'm so sorry, sir. She had planned the ambush for weeks. Carefully timed. Precisely executed. Even the bridesmaids, at least 2 of them, later admitted they thought something was off, but Claire kept them in the dark just enough. Just enough to stay believable. Just enough to seem fragile. She lived in the gray areas. The plausible deniability. The half-truths and doctored receipts. But now she was exposed. I still remember the night the police finally visited her new apartment in Austin. Not to arrest her, yet, but to serve her with a protective order. For me, it was surreal. The woman who had painted me as the abuser now legally forbidden to contact me. And then came the knock on my door again. A week later, I opened it, and there she was, Claire, standing in the hallway like a ghost that refused to stay buried. Hair darker, face thinner, but those eyes still sharp, still calculating. Claire, you think you won? I didn't answer. Claire, you think these people love you now? They don't. They're just addicted to the drama. The minute someone posts something shinier, they'll forget you even exist. Me, maybe, but at least now they know who you are. She took a step closer. Claire, you couldn't just walk away. You had to make it ugly. Me, you made it ugly. I just turned on the lights. She smiled. It wasn't warm. It wasn't real. It was the smile of someone who knew she'd lost the game, but still wanted to hurt you on the way out. Claire, enjoy the sympathy. It won't last. Then she turned and walked away, and I let her. I closed the door, locked it, sat down on the floor beside Simon. My hands were shaking, but something was different now. For the first time in months, I didn't feel powerless. I felt seen. Emma kept checking in. Mark too. We weren't just victims, we were survivors now. Not of some big obvious trauma, but of something slower, more invisible, a slow erosion of truth. The healing wasn't linear. I still woke up some nights with my heart pounding, half expecting another bomb to drop. I still second-guessed messages. Still felt that gut twist every time my phone rang with an unknown number. But I wasn't alone anymore. One day, months later, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a photo. Me and Claire, on our engagement trip to Tulum, smiling on the beach. Pure. Before everything went to hell? On the back, scribbled in black ink. You were never supposed to fight back. No signature. But I knew who it was. I burned it. And as the paper curled to ash, I realized something. She didn't just want to destroy me. She wanted to write the ending. But I had taken the pen back. This wasn't her story anymore. It was mine. You don't walk away from something like that unchanged. It doesn't matter how much truth you reveal, how much evidence you present, or how many people finally believe you. When someone rips your soul open and wears your ruin like a performance, something fundamental shifts inside you. You start questioning everything, not just people, but yourself. And that's where I was 6 months after the collapse. Claire had vanished again. No public profiles. No new victims that we knew of. She was either laying low or plotting something deeper, darker, more careful. Maybe she'd finally lost her taste for blood. But I didn't feel safe. Not really. I stayed off most platforms. Deleted old accounts. Changed my number. Kept my circle microscopic. And even then, I second-guessed every message. Every compliment. Every hand on my shoulder. Because what if they were like her? What if they were? Emma was the only one I still let in. She'd become something like family. We trauma-bonded over late-night calls, overtake coffee binges, and what-if spirals. Emma, do you ever think about what would have happened if she hadn't played the video? Me, all the time. I'd have married her, slept beside her, trusted her with my life. Emma, and she'd have waited until it mattered most, then snapped her neck and blamed the floor. We laughed, darkly, but it was true. Claire didn't destroy you all at once. She starved your sense of self, a slow suffocation under the weight of charm, guilt, manipulation, and we both survived it. But barely. Jared checked in now and then too, usually through short, brutal texts like, Jared, text, saw some chick on TikTok using your story to sell a healing crystal. The internet is F***ked. He wasn't wrong. My story had turned into a meme for some. The wedding psycho X thing. People reenacted it. Made skits. Some even accused me of staging the whole thing. But the core truth held. There were enough survivors speaking out now. Enough proof. Enough scars. One of the women from Claire's survivor group, Mia, reached out anonymously. She was the one who'd been hospitalized after a breakdown. Mia, email. I just wanted you to know. I almost ended my life after talking to her. She told me my trauma was my fault, that I let it happen. I believed her. Then I saw your story, and I realized she wasn't helping me. She was feeding off me. Thank you for breaking the cycle. I cried reading that, because no one ever tells you that survival can come with guilt. Guilt that you got out when others didn't. That you exposed the abuser, but someone else paid the price first. That no matter how hard you fought, it still wasn't fast enough to save everyone. But letters like hers kept me moving. So did Simon. The damn dog had stuck by me through it all. The wedding meltdown. The depression cave. The sleepless nights. He never judged. Never doubted. He just curled up beside me and reminded me there was still something in this world that loved without conditions. Then the subpoena came. It was hand-delivered. Claire was countersuing. Claim. Emotional distress. Defamation. Harassment. Unreal. She was flipping the script again. Claiming my public exposure of her lies had put her life in danger and subjected her to stalking, threats, and loss of income. She included screenshots taken out of context of emails I'd sent to victims trying to verify stories, messages to journalists, tweets from anonymous users calling her names. The same playbook. Twisted half-truths, framed as attacks. Clara sighed when she saw the documents. Clara, she's not trying to win. She's trying to reframe. To cast herself as the hunted again. To muddy the waters. It made sense. She didn't need to win in court. She just needed the narrative to shift. To remind the world that she was the victim, and I was the relentless obsessor who couldn't let go. The trial was scheduled for December. Public. High profile. Her lawyers were vicious. Slick. Performative. The kind that weaponized vulnerability and played the audience like a piano. They grilled me for 6 hours straight. Asked if I'd ever raised my voice at her. If I'd ever tracked her location. If I'd ever said, I wish she'd disappear. I had. Once. To Jared. In a fit of rage. Me, in court, yes. I said it. After she destroyed my career. After I found out she faked everything. After she told the world I was a predator. Her lawyer nodded like he'd found a smoking gun. Her lawyer, so you admit to harboring violent thoughts. Me, I admit to being human. They showed the clip of her Instagram breakdown, the tearful video about being hunted by her ex. I wanted to scream, but then Clara stood up, and she was surgical. She showed the jury the doctored audio comparisons, the AI fingerprints, the screenshots from Portland, from Seattle, the Zoom call where Claire admitted building her own narrative. She called Emma, then Mark, then Mia. All of them testified. All of them cracked the illusion. And when Mia looked Claire in the eyes across the courtroom and said, "You made me want to kill myself so you could feel like a hero," I thought I saw Claire flinch. Just for a second. But it was enough. Enough to shatter the mask. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Verdict, not guilty. And more importantly, Claire's countersuit, dismissed with prejudice, meaning she couldn't try again, meaning her narrative was officially dead. The media didn't know what to do with it, because the villain was a woman, and the survivor was a man, and that didn't fit the algorithm. But it was real, and it was mine. The trial ended on a Friday. Cold, quiet, snow falling like a movie cliche. You'd think I'd feel something, relief, closure, vindication. But all I felt was empty, not the kind of emptiness that hurts. The kind that just is. Like your body forgot what it means to need anything. Emma and Clara took me out for drinks that night. Simon sat curled beneath the table at the bar, his head on my shoe. We didn't toast, didn't cheer, just sat in silence for a while, drinking slowly, listening to the soft hum of a band playing somewhere in the back. Emma, you beat her. Me. I didn't win. I just survived. Clara, sometimes that's the same thing. Maybe it was. But part of me still wanted more. Not revenge. Not justice. I just wanted peace. The next few weeks passed in a haze. Old friends who had ghosted me started texting again. Some were sincere. Some wanted gossip. A few apologized, awkward and too late. One guy, Brian, wrote, "Brian, text. I really ********* up. I should have stood by you." I believed her because I thought that's what being a good guy meant. Turns out being a good guy is a hell of a lot more complicated. I didn't reply, not because I was angry, because I didn't know how to answer that kind of honesty. Claire disappeared again after the trial, deleted her socials, abandoned her email. A burner account popped up on Reddit trying to set the record straight, but it was downvoted into oblivion and banned within a day. The world didn't believe her anymore, but she still haunted mine. I started therapy, real therapy, not the pseudo-empowerment workshops Claire used to run where healing meant letting her dictate your identity. No, this was slow, raw, messy, but honest. I unpacked everything. The slow erosion of trust, the way she isolated me, the gaslighting, the projection, the smile she wore right before the destruction. My therapist, Jonah, was patient. Jonah, when was the first time you doubted your reality with her? Me. The first time I felt like I had to prove I wasn't what she said I was. Jonah, that's usually when it begins. I learned that trauma doesn't always come from violence. Sometimes, it's from the constant whittling away of self. And Claire had been a master carver. I started writing again, too. Not publicly, just small entries. Memories. Feelings. Fragments of truth. Pieces of myself I wanted to glue back together. Emma encouraged me. Emma, you have a story. People need it. Me? People already twisted it. Emma, then tell it your way, before someone else does. She was right. So I did. And slowly, I started to feel human again. Until the email came. It was from Claire. A burner, but unmistakably her. Subject, I just wanted to explain. I almost deleted it. But something made me open it. The body of the email was long, rambling, vague apologies laced with self-pity, mentions of her childhood, her need for control, her fear of abandonment. The usual narcissistic play, confession without accountability. But one paragraph stood out. I didn't plan to hurt you at first. I really thought I could love you enough to change the way I am. But when I realized I couldn't, I hated you for still believing in me. That's why I made the video. I wanted you to hate me back, because then I didn't have to feel guilty anymore. I read that line again and again, not because it hurt, because it explained everything. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted to transfer the shame, to make me feel what she couldn't admit. I forwarded the email to my lawyer, then blocked the address. Permanently. I didn't reply. She didn't deserve the last word. The new year came. Quiet. Snowy. Emma moved out of the city. Jared got engaged. Clara took a sabbatical and started working on a book about coercive control. And I breathed. Deeply. For the first time in over a year, I didn't feel hunted. I wasn't whole. Not yet. But I was free. Sometimes I caught myself staring out the window at night, wondering if Claire was doing the same. Plotting something. Rebranding again. Getting ready for her next victim. But I stopped letting that fear control me. Because the truth is, people like her don't stop being who they are. But people like me? We get smarter, sharper, harder to manipulate. And we find each other. In forums. In comments. In whispered bar confessions. We say, that happened to me too. We remind each other that healing isn't weakness. It's defiance. And survival? It's the ultimate revenge. It's strange what you start to notice after escaping someone like her. The little things. The pauses in someone's voice when they tell a story that doesn't quite line up. The way certain people mirror your emotions just a little too perfectly. The way compliments from strangers suddenly feel like fishing lines rather than gifts. You're never quite the same after emotional abuse. You become a forensic investigator of trust. I remember going on my first date post-Claire, 6 months after the trial. Her name was Lila, a friend of a friend. Kind, thoughtful, bright eyes. She didn't know much about my story, just that I'd been through something. We had coffee, talked books, childhood memories, favorite movies. But when she smiled at me too much or laughed at my jokes too easily, I felt that crawl under my skin. Not because she was fake, because I couldn't tell what real looked like anymore. I ghosted her. I hated myself for it, but I wasn't ready. The next time I went on a date, I told her everything. Not the whole thing, just enough. Me, nervously, I was engaged once. It didn't go well. She turned the wedding into a smear campaign, claimed I was abusive, made a fake video. It kind of blew up online. The girl, Maya, just blinked, then shrugged. Maya, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard. Also, probably the most honest thing someone's told me on a first date. So, thanks. She didn't run, but I still did. I wasn't afraid of women. I was afraid of myself. Afraid of what Claire had done to my ability to love, to trust, to even want. One night, I found an old voice recording on my phone. From before it all, Claire and I, drunk in bed, laughing, making stupid voices, talking about names for our future kids. Claire, in the recording, giggling, if it's a boy, he gets your eyes. If it's a girl, God help her, she gets my drama. My stomach turned. Because even back then she knew. Some part of her knew the fire was coming. That she'd burn it all down. And yet she smiled through it. Made it cute. Whimsical. Like pain was just another costume. I deleted the file. Burned more photos. Blocked every single wellness coach who popped up in my feed that even remotely sounded like her. I thought about warning the world again. But I was tired. So tired. Until I got the call. It was Emma. She was crying. Emma, through sobs, it's Zoe. She's dead. Zoe, one of Claire's old coaching clients. The youngest. 19. Vulnerable. Sweet. The one who used to DM me at night asking if it was okay to miss her abuser. If it was okay to want answers that would never come. She'd overdosed. Sleeping pills. Her mother found her with a note clutched in her hand. Not to her family. To Claire. Zoe's note, quoted by Emma. You said I'd feel empowered. But I only feel broken. You told me to cut off my mom, my best friend, my boyfriend. Now there's no one left. Was that the point? Claire hadn't spoken to her in months. But the damage had already been done. When I heard, I couldn't breathe. I fell to the floor. Simon nudged me, licked my face. But I was gone. Because Zoe wasn't some stranger. She was a casualty. Collateral damage in Claire's twisted fantasy of victimhood. And suddenly, surviving wasn't enough. I needed to warn the next Zoes. Not with rage. Not with war. With truth. I started a podcast. Anonymous at first. Masked my voice. Called it Beneath the Surface. I didn't mention names. Didn't attack. I just told my story. Week by week. How it started. How it felt. How it spiraled. How it broke me. How I rebuilt. And people listened. Quietly at first. Then in waves. Thousands. Messages started coming in. Anonymous listener. I never realized what happened to me was abuse until I heard your story. Thank you. Another. I thought I was the manipulative one, but I see it now. I see her for what she was. It spread because people were hungry for honesty, for nuance, for something that wasn't just hashtags and outrage and black and white labels. They wanted someone to say, "You're not crazy." So I did, over and over, until one night, An email came. No subject line, just a link. A YouTube video. It was Claire. Unlisted. Secret. Just her, sitting in a hotel room. Dim light. No makeup. Claire, in the video. I didn't come here to apologize. That would be fake. I came here to warn you. About people like me. She looked tired. Older. Broken in a way I hadn't thought possible. Claire. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know when it all became a performance. I just know I can't stop needing people to see me, even if it means destroying them. She paused. Claire. If you're watching this, and you think you can save someone like me, run. Don't try. Don't fix us. We'll take you with us when we drown. It ended there. No fanfare. No manipulation. Just confession. I never shared it. Not out of mercy. Out of fear. Because I knew that even now, even that could be another act. Another trap. Another way to stay in my head. So I archived it. And kept going. Because there were others to reach. And I had so much more to say. The podcast kept growing. By the 10th episode, I wasn't anonymous anymore. People knew my face. My name. The whole story. I did interviews. Guest spots. Wrote an op-ed for a major paper titled, I Was Accused, Canceled, and Left to Die. Here's how I survived her. The reactions were mixed. Some hailed me as brave. Others called me manipulative. Some said I was just another man playing the victim. And to them, I said nothing. Because I'd learned, no one listens if they've already decided who you are. I didn't need them. I had my truth. And people who understood it. One night, after a speaking panel on emotional abuse and social media, a guy in his 20s came up to me. Shaking. Eyes wide. Guy, I thought I was crazy. I thought I was the only one. He told me about his ex. The way she'd accused him of cheating every time he had 5 minutes of peace. The way she cut him off from his mom, his job, his therapist, because they were trying to control him. The way she'd scream, cry, and film herself anytime he tried to leave. And when he finally did, she posted a video on TikTok. Said he'd assaulted her. He hadn't even touched her. But the internet didn't care. Guy, it's been 9 months. I still can't get a job. My dad thinks I did it. My ex's video got over 3 million views. My side? Doesn't even matter. I hugged him. I never used to hug strangers. But I did that night. Because I knew the feeling of being invisible in your own life. The irony? The more public my story got, the more I realized how common it was. How many men, quiet, good, scared men, were walking around with wounds no one saw. And we weren't looking for pity. We just wanted to be believed. I started a foundation. Project Glass. The name came from something Jonah, my therapist, once said. Jonah, gaslighting makes you feel like you're inside a glass room. You can scream, but no one hears you. Project Glass gave voice to the men inside the room. We offered free legal advice, therapy scholarships, story-sharing circles. Some people mocked us. Others tried to cancel us. But we kept going. Because for every troll, there were 10 guys whispering, me too. Then came the award. It was surreal. Some nonprofit coalition gave me Survivor Advocate of the Year. Emma cried when she heard. Clara posted the ceremony clip on Instagram with the caption, From Ruined to Reborn. You did it, brother. Even Jared flew in for it. I stood at the podium, staring at hundreds of people clapping, smiling, cheering. And all I could think about was her, Claire. Because in a sick way, she made this. Not the foundation, not the healing, but the fire. The thing that cracked me open and made me need to tell the truth. And part of me hated that I had her to thank for it. I still remember my speech, word for word, because I didn't use notes. Me on stage. I was supposed to be a husband, a writer, a quiet guy with a dog. Instead, I became a villain in a story someone else wrote for me. It took me 2 years, a lawsuit, a trial, and a podcast to reclaim my name. But I'm not here tonight because I want sympathy. I'm here because I want recognition. Not for me, but for the thousands of men who never got their day in court, who are still trapped in someone else's narrative. We don't want revenge. We want reality. That's what Project Glass stands for. Seeing clearly, speaking honestly, healing loudly. The applause was thunder. But inside, I still felt hollow. Because every win came with a shadow. And that shadow was always Claire. No matter how far I climbed, her silhouette waited at the peak. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a private investigator I'd hired years ago. He'd been tracking Claire's aliases. She was in another state now. Different name, different look, same game, coaching women again. One of her new clients had a restraining order against her husband. The guy lost his job, his house. He tried to end his life. He failed, but he was in a psychiatric hospital now, and the family suspected Claire had pushed him there. P.I. You want to go public with this? We can blow her up. End her career for good. I didn't answer right away. I went for a walk instead. Simon padded along beside me. The air was cold, sharp, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. Because I finally knew what I wanted. Not vengeance. Not headlines. Just to protect others. Quietly. Effectively. Without feeding the monster that she still wanted to be. So I told the PI. Me. Give the family what they need. But keep me out of it. PI. You sure? This is your chance. Me. I've already had mine. I lived. And that was enough. It had to be. A year passed. Then another. And for the first time since all of it, since Claire, since the trial, since the betrayal and the fire and the fallout, I started to forget. Not fully. Not perfectly. But the sharp edges dulled. I met someone. Her name was Audrey. We met at a bookstore. I was flipping through a worn-out copy of The Road when she tapped my shoulder and said, Audrey, that book is beautiful, but it'll ruin your day. I looked up. She smiled. Not the polished kind. Not the performative influencer smile I've learned to fear. Just soft. Real. We talked. Coffee turned into walks. Walks turned into movies. Movies turned into lazy Sundays and shared playlists and toothbrushes left at each other's places. I told her everything. Not on the first date. Not even the second. But one night, months in, after we'd made pasta together and danced barefoot in her kitchen to Fleetwood Mac, I sat her down and said, Me, there's something you need to know. And I told her. All of it. She didn't flinch. She didn't doubt. She didn't ask, Are you sure you didn't deserve some of it? She just said, Audrey, that's awful. But it's not who you are now. And it never was. I cried. Harder than I had in years. Because it felt like someone had finally walked into the glass room and sat with me. No judgment. No fear. Just presence. That's when I knew I was in love. We didn't rush. I still had bad nights. Flashbacks. Moments where her voice, Claire's voice, would echo in the corners of my mind. Moments where I'd see a photo online, someone who looked like Claire from a distance, and I'd freeze. Audrey never took it personally. She never asked me to be over it. She just held my hand and let the silence speak for us. On our 1-year anniversary, she gave me a gift. It wasn't fancy. Just a leather notebook. On the first page, she'd written, Write your new story. The one without her in it. And I did. It started slowly. Poems. Dreams. Little flashes of memory that weren't soaked in trauma. I remembered what it felt like to ride a bike without checking over my shoulder. To laugh at a stupid meme without dissecting whether it was problematic. To just be. Then, the email came. From a woman named Rachel. Subject, Claire's new victim. I almost deleted it. But something made me open it. Rachel was 27. A nurse. She'd met Claire at a women's retreat. She was grieving a breakup, her boyfriend had cheated on her, and Claire had coached her through it. At first, it helped. Then came the isolating, the reframing, the gaslighting. Claire told her that her father was a narcissist, that her best friend was a covert abuser, that she needed to cut ties with all male energy or she'd never heal. When Rachel hesitated, Claire threatened to out her trauma resistance online, claimed she was endangering other survivors. Then came the group chat, other clients of Claire, a digital cult, all women, all echoing her words. Rachel tried to leave. Claire posted a video, not naming Rachel, but describing her in detail, calling her a textbook case of internalized misogyny. Thousands of comments flooded in. Rachel had to quit her job. She moved cities, changed her number, but someone mentioned my podcast to her. And suddenly, things clicked. She knew she wasn't crazy, that Claire wasn't a healer. She was a predator in a white dress. Rachel ended the email with this. I don't need you to do anything. I just needed you to know. Your story saved me. I closed the laptop, stared out the window. Audrey came in, handed me tea. Didn't ask why I looked shaken. Just sat down beside me. I told her what Rachel wrote. She took a deep breath, then said, Audrey, you're not just surviving anymore. You're interrupting her cycle. That night, I realized something. I used to think healing was forgetting, but it wasn't. Healing was remembering and still choosing to live, to love, to try again, to tell the truth, to stop the story where it needs to stop, before it consumes someone else. So that's what I did. Months later, I sat in front of a crowd of college students. A mental health summit. Panel topic: gaslighting, gender, and the weaponization of empathy. I was the closing speaker. I almost didn't go. Part of me felt like I'd said everything already, that maybe the world was tired of my voice. But then I looked around, saw a boy in the front row who couldn't have been more than 19. Pale, thin, wrists crossed like shields. And I remembered what it felt like to sit in a room full of noise and feel like you didn't belong anywhere. So I got up, walked to the mic, and told them, me. I was almost married. I wore a suit, stood by an altar, and waited for a woman I thought I'd grow old with. She didn't show up. What she did instead, what happened after, nearly killed me. But that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to talk about pain. I'm here to talk about truth. About what happens when your voice gets taken and you fight to get it back. I told them everything. The lying, the manipulation, the gaslighting so bad I doubted whether I'd even loved her at all. The isolation, the trial, the internet mobs, the silence, and then the slow, ugly, stubborn healing. I watched their eyes, some filled with tears, others burned with anger. Some just stared, wide and blank, because the words hit too close. At the end, I said this. Me. If you've been hurt by someone who called it love, it wasn't love. If you're scared to speak because they told you no one would believe you, I believe you. And if you feel like your life is over, let me tell you, it's not. It's just beginning. But only if you take it back. When it ended, the line to speak with me wrapped around the building. Men, women, non-binary students. Some holding each other. Some alone. All carrying pieces of a story that mirrored mine in ways I didn't think possible. That night, I walked back to my hotel and wrote something new in the notebook Audrey gave me. It wasn't a story. Not exactly. It was a letter. To Claire. But I never sent it. Because she didn't need it. I did. Here's what it said. Claire, you didn't break me. You cracked me open. And what spilled out wasn't weakness. It was truth. I thought I needed you to complete me. But I only needed to remember who I was before you rewrote me. You took my voice. But I took it back. And now, I use it for something better. Goodbye. The man you tried to erase. I closed the notebook. Looked out the window at the streetlights glowing like distant stars. And I smiled. Because for the first time in what felt like forever, there was no ghost at my shoulder. No weight on my chest. Just breath. Just space. Just life. And the man I'd become, scarred, yes, but whole, was finally mine again. The wedding didn't happen, but I showed up for something better. Myself.